Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wales of Wall Street. We have an interesting video for you guys today. This is one based off a lot of requests in the comments for my portfolio breakdown. So the assets that I hold and the percentage, perhaps allocations towards that in the portfolio. But I thought it was a good opportunity as well to speak about some of the learnings over the last few years and definitely looking back at what I wish I knew 3 or 4 years ago that I know today, how that could have impacted and made it a bit more profitable, and a bit more conscious around management and things as well. So this may fall on deaf ears, but hopefully you guys are listening out there because there's some things that I wish I knew back when I was starting, or at least developing my portfolio and what I was doing with my crypto assets in there as well. Before we do that, guys, don't forget to smash the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and check out, please, the other videos on the channel. Loads of really cool interviews quite recently, top level projects, advisories, and some very top level information around trade finance. Very interesting with Andre Costman the other day, so go and check that out as well. So let's go straight into this, guys. First of all, we'll talk about the portfolio, and then we'll go into some of these really interesting notes and also some key recommendations of things to keep an eye out for, and to definitely do in the management perspective and some of the learning. So first and foremost, guys, obviously I'm not going to show you how much value is in here, but this is quite an interesting subject for me. So ironically, it's quite funny. When I was going through this, first of all, I had to update CoinMarketCap a bit with all the transactions that I've done. But we'll go on to that topic in a second because there's a bit of an easier way to do it more officially, if you like, rather than manually. But the point being here is when I looked through this list, I was like, I forgot about half of these. And I literally was trying to do 2 or 3 videos today and ended up spending half the entire day tracing back all the different accounts, the wallets, the exchanges to try and find a lot of these crypto assets that I was holding, some of which have gone pretty much obsolete. And I can't even access some of the exchanges because it's been so long and loads of KYC and stuff to go through to access them, to actually even either sell them off for whatever they're worth or try and transfer them across. And we'll go into that in a minute as well, because some of the exchanges have disappeared completely. Which is a huge, huge situation to think about. So this, first and foremost, obviously CoinMarketCap in your portfolio section. I've obviously blanked out the actual revenues and stuff that I've got out of here. But I thought I'd show the all-time here. So for those that didn't know, I basically actually originally started trading in around 2019. And I pretty much scared myself, didn't know what I was doing. I put £50 in, thinking, oh, that's a good starting point. Let's see how it goes. And then within like 2 days, it dropped down to like 35. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm losing my money. Let's just get it back and whatever. I can't really exactly pinpoint why I got back into it, but I think I spent like a few months just like understanding trading and stuff a bit more. And trading is a very interesting word because I don't actually necessarily trade as such. I accumulate more than anything else. There are a couple of assets that I do trade regularly, just for not necessarily a bit of fun, but something that's doing a bit of testing ground. It helps me with the research capabilities of chart analysis. I mean, I've got a diploma certification in forex trading and things, so I understand charts and analysis and the indicators, which I try to go through with you guys on most of the project videos that we cover, albeit not in like 100% detail like a lot of other channels out there, but it's just a quick recap. But the point being here is that I started learning. Obviously, the pandemic came, and I was watching so many different YouTube videos. I was getting quite excited about cryptocurrency. I was understanding what blockchain was, which I think is very fundamental. If you're new to crypto or still in crypto and don't understand it fully, I highly recommend just doing some research on this, how smart contracts work, what even is blockchain. I actually did a diploma in cryptocurrency or cryptography, blockchain, distinction level, might add. Very, very good. Very happy to have got that. And that made me really understand the root causes of blockchain, how it came about, what is it, how does it actually work, the process and the validation, validators, all of this stuff, Merkle tree, you name it, or everything. And then it clicked in my head, and I was like, okay, I've got massive experience in industries such as IoT, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, all these areas. I've got experience in distribution, so supply chain reactions and stuff. All of a sudden, I started working out blockchain and its capabilities and linking all those things together. And as soon as I started understanding that, I guess this channel was born. Because I was like watching loads of videos, and I was like, I don't really like the way they're doing this or that. And granted, you guys might think similar, and you might even start your own channels one day. Who knows? But I was getting a bit fed up with the shilling, and it's so obvious to me. And at the time, I was like, oh, I really want to get into the Web3 blockchain space, but I think I need some credibility here. So I did the diploma, and I started up the video channel, not 100% to get to the stage where it is now, but actually to give it a foundation that I tried to know what I was talking about and what excited me the most about blockchain. And that ultimately did work because I did start working in the Web3 space on various different projects and variations of levels of blockchain technology. And now very fortunate to be invited to the likes of the Digital Power Foundation, being linked and networked with some significant people in the space, some obviously big events and stuff, which is really cool that we'll get more and more into as time goes by. But back to this chart point, you can see that I started in 2020 and that 2021 bull run came. Now in 2020, I very much accumulated some specific projects. I probably had to start with about 6 or 7. I don't even know how many I've got now. The list is absolutely huge. We'll go into a bit more detail in a second, but it got to silly numbers, like 40 of them. I've trimmed that down to at least half, I think, for various reasons. We'll go into that as well. But you can see here, this is my allocation on the right hand side. I was surprised actually. I thought XRP I had. I don't know if this is the allocation in terms of units or if it's done in value. I think it's done in value, which kind of makes a bit more sense because I do have good holdings of a lot of these projects, and some are obviously performing in terms of gains. The word gains is very important, guys, because a lot of people just focus on the price point of a token. They don't look at maybe previous all-time highs or the possible gains that can be had. And ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, majority of assets that you go into, and particularly ones that are similar, will probably have similar gain percentages over each other. So rather than looking at the value of something, so going, oh, that one's now $100. Oh my God. And I bought it at like $50, $60, whatever. Yes, that value looks bigger. The number looks bigger, but actually the gain number isn't. So this is where I've had good success over that period of time. And particularly with XDC, which I'm holding for dear life. I'm trying to accumulate as much as I can when I can. Same with all of these, really. And there's a couple of learnings we'll go on to in a second. But you can see there, there's a top representation, at least, of some of them. Some of which I would say are a lot of people call them blue chip projects. But if we go down this list slightly below, you see that expands out a lot further. So this list goes up to HBAR, and then beyond that, it's a mixture of other projects, which we cover on the channel. There's some that I don't talk about too much, and there's some projects we cover on the channel that I don't even hold. And some changes in the last few days, some assets I've got rid of and actually transferred them across into some of the more concise projects, I think would be for a better word, that I just feel a bit more trust and confidence in. But you can see here the list is quite big, and there's a lot of variety in here. I've tried to keep this variety within certain sectors of which I've had experience or definite knowledge within. So the finance industry, of course, supply chain management I've mentioned, generalization around smart contract abilities and blockchain abilities. For example, Cardano is a great example of that. I'm very much a big advocate of DAG technology, direct to cyclic graph, which is why Hedera was in there, which is why I hold iota as well. And there's a load of other really massive ecosystem building projects out there as well. So Elrond, for example, Elrond is a very funny one, which has had a few brand changes over the last couple of years. And there's a load of other protocols, different layered sections as well. So you've got Elrond here, you've got Harmony One, Polkadot. A lot of these, by the way, credit due to some of the other channels that I used to follow, like Cheeky Crypto. I still keep an eye on the guys. If they're listening, please respond to my LinkedIn messages, because I would love to do a joint video with some of these channels. And Zilliqa, Blockchain Andy, for example, was a fantastic advocate. I think he might work for them now, to be fair, but I was very impressed with Zilliqa, and I still am. In fact, I should probably do a Zilliqa update video. And there's a few other ones here, really interesting ones. Some are exchange related, some are related around IoT, some exchanges, as I mentioned, LCX, which is obviously a big upcoming one in my opinion. But Binance, of course, with its XCC reliance on the Zinfin network. And there's a few back here. These ones I also bought in 2020, Singularity Net and Fetch AI. They are very low down the list. The values of them are still good, but I haven't focused too much on them, which is a bit of a disappointment in my head. But this is another grasping point which I've got on my list here in terms of learnings, in terms of potential reductions and keeping management of your portfolio list. And throughout this list, some of them I've just recently added, so they're slightly lower down anyway. It was Cosmos. I should have had this a long time ago, but I've been doing a lot of analysis on that. A lot more videos will come out on that as well. And from the gaming side, this is very interesting to me as well, which is why Engine's on there. DAG is interesting. I've been holding DAG for some time, but I've been really slow on the accumulation of that one as well. But I have been adding those in as well. And you can actually see on the right hand side here, by the way, average buy price, which some of them I'm really happy with. I'm not sure how accurate this XRP one is because I was buying a lot of XRP around like 13 to 20 cents back in 2020. But it might just be that I know we went to like $1, $2 or something, was it, in the last bull run? So it's not too bad. But yeah, I'm in deficit on some of these accounts, of course. But some of them I'm very proud of, very happy with. VeChain, for example, yes, the price is less now, but there was good bull runs on that one. We'll talk about that in a second as well. There's a lot to talk about in this video. Energy Web is one that I think is going to be absolutely huge in the future. So there's energy sector ones here, just my understanding of that. And lower down is some absolute random ones. Terra Classic, don't even know why that's still in here. That's appalling. That was actually quite funny. I had no Terra and I was watching that big market fluctuation and it got quite high in that really crazy moment of like a day or two. And I bought up a higher region. I think I made some profit on it and I kept some of it in there. But as you can see, it's pretty much worth nothing, to be honest, right now. So I don't really focus on it. But there's some games in here. I'm a big gaming advocate. I understand heavily, especially working in the Web3 gaming space. I had a big understanding of some really good game partners that I was working with. That was like, oh, actually, I quite like this. I'm going to hold on to these for the near future. Obviously, the gaming market had its moment and it's all the way back down now, like most of the market anyway. So there's a really big, interesting mix. And please let us know in the comments below if you're holding any of these, what are your favorite ones, and also any questions you have about some. Like there's some on this list that you haven't seen. But just to reel these off really quickly, guys, XTC Network at the top, obviously followed by XRP, Ripple, Quant, QNT, of course, VeChain, Cardano, Stellar, Hedera, Algorand, IOTA, Energy Web. I think that's a really big top sort of 10 or so, isn't it? In my opinion. I think that's absolutely solid. Kitsaman obviously used to work for them as well. Multiverse X, this is Elrond or eGold beforehand, just changed the name. Harmony One, I've kept for a long time. I think it's still staking actually. Polkadot as well. I've been trying my best to accumulate that more recently. It's one alongside Link, which I sold off back in 2021. I was holding a lot of Link and Polkadot through 2020 as I felt there's a massive orientation around those guys. Zilliqa, Betswell is very interesting. It's around like betting in sports and gaming and stuff. I'm not an advocate of betting, but I got it because I had loads of game station tokens. And when you stake those, you get rewarded with the tokens that are building through those launch pads. So there's a few that I got out of there for essentially, I think it was like, I can't remember how much for now. It wasn't too much, but good valuations on some of these. And I'm just holding them for that next bull run to see what happens and staking quite a lot of them as well. I think Bets is quite cool because they've got a wrapped Polygon, Matic, or whatever chain there's Avalanche, Ethereum, or Polygon. You get rewarded staking wrapped tokens of those as well if you're staking the Bets tokens. Veracity, obviously digital advertising, me being a marketeer. This was a very interesting project to me. It's still very much prominent in my mind. I'm staking all of that as well. iotx staking also. Very orientated around IoT development and tracking AI stuff. LCX, Global Alliance in that bracket of exchanges. Don't know why this is in there. USDT. I don't think I've got any flowing around. I think there might be like $1 somewhere. Fetch AI, Singularity Net. These are absolutely huge tokens in the AI sphere. Huge futures for sure. Fetch AI, I haven't moved across the ledger yet. I think it's still stuck in Binance. Cosmos, new one for me. Komi, Omi tokens, I've been holding this for a long, long time. I think the development of this is going to be fantastic over time. It's definitely a good option to get a lot of accumulation. Just all of these have their own stories behind them. We try and cover them as much as we can on the channel. Engine Coin, very, very interesting project. It's changed slightly, it's developed slightly in the last year or two. It's moved away from some of its foundational solutions. I was very interested in its melting for the whole orientation around taking digital assets within games to other games, melting them, changing them, etc., etc. Matrix AI, that's a bit of a speculative one. We'll go on to that in a second. Constellation, DAG, Anchor. Alicia, I think, was more around real estate. I haven't got property on here. I think, by the way, guys, there's like 3 or 4 that are missing, and I need to add them once I've got the transaction here. But property's on there. I think property's supposed to sit up here somewhere as well. Multivax missing, and there's a couple of others as well. Apologies for that. But BNB, V4 token, Clever, which is a really cool digital wallet, building a good savings account to look at for sure as well. Lots of good APY in the staking. GoChain, I don't really hold too much of. I think it's a good fast chain for the future at some point, but it's kind of fizzled out a bit. I just held it really for fee tokens, to be honest, for when I was moving certain assets around. It might even have been for the OMI token before I moved it to Ledger, etc. Governance ZIL, this went up massively. It went to like $250 at some point. Now it's fallen down quite significantly. But interesting to hold that as the next bull run comes. The governance might be needed more and more again for these chains. So keep an eye on them. And there's a few other speculative ones. Real Fever, this is a good football one around collectibles. And Meta Fighter is obviously kind of like a Web3 version of Street Fighter. Really cool game. Go check it out. Player tokens, off the face of the earth. These 3 I very much kind of half disregarded over time. There's not much in these at all. They're worth next to nothing. So that's the portfolio, guys. What I'm holding. As I said, there's a few missing, unfortunately. I need to get those added in. But I think the main focus is probably that top 10. I think it's very solid, if I say so myself. VeChain, some people may not have heard of before, but it's one that I think is going to be absolutely massive for the supply chain mechanism, especially with the electronic trade acts going through here in the UK and worldwide over the next year or so coming into fruition. Anything to do with supply chain logistics, AI, IoT, CBDC, cloud has a massive future. I'm going to be adding Filecoin probably this week as well. I think that's got a massive opportunity with storage of data, particularly within blockchain, and how those documents are kept. I think that's going to have a huge, significant part to play in this area. But that is very much the big overhaul here. There's another one that's not in here, is Power Ledger. I'm not sure why. Probably because I only added that, I think, last year, and I haven't really updated this too much. I've done some of them this morning. But guys, that aside, this is the crazy thing. I was literally looking through this morning, and I was like, wow, I forgot about half of these. And it leads me to my first point, guys, is about the management. Not so much reducing the list, because a list can be as big or small as you want. What I would say is the management piece, and this is really dependent on if you're accumulating or you're a daily or weekly, monthly trader. We have short-term trader, for a better word, because it is quite difficult to hold on to all of these and manage them. Some of them you might just buy allocation for and just go, I'm not buying anymore. I'm buying it at this price. I'm happy with it. I see a good future for it. I'm leaving it and doing something with it in the future. One thing I would say is I love all of these projects and technologies. I'm not an emotional person about them. I used to be treating them as like tribal. I think a lot of people get really angry about them and like emotional about them, like as if they're a big part of their life. When actually, guys, they're just companies. They're just companies with options for tokens that you can buy or sell as if you were buying something in the stock market. I don't see many people getting excited about companies in the real world, as it were. Nvidia, Apple, obviously some of us like iPhones and stuff, but we're not going to cry about it. But it was very interesting last few years of measuring psychological patterns with people around tokens and tokenomics and stuff. But the management piece is really interesting. If I was to go back in time, I would be more strict with not buying more. But as I mentioned just a minute ago, like adding Filecoin. I haven't added a new token other than Cosmos in the last few months, where I go, okay, what's the actual opportunity here? And that's not ignorance of me not knowing what they are. I've known about these projects for a long time, covered them, most of them in the past as well at some point. It's just I haven't had room in the portfolio or capital to go, actually, I've done my accumulation on the last month or two on some of the other ones at the good prices. I'm now going to add new ones. But before I do that, I analyze the data, the history of the project, what's the future of the project, the market data, and all these factors. So my recommendation is if you're new to crypto or you're in crypto right now in these bear markets and stuff, it's good time to manage things better. And also try and find things that you perhaps went missing off your radar, your mindset, and go, oh, wow, I forgot about those. And that's leading on really to another point, which I found this morning. I was trying to find two or three of these assets and I can't even get access to them because they're stuck on exchanges that don't exist anymore, or the regulations have changed, particularly in this country, that they don't even allow audience or participation unless they get VPN to access those exchanges. So there's a wary thing here in the sense that they always say, not your keys, not your tokens, or however that saying goes. The point being is that I try and move as many of the assets that I have from exchange as soon as possible into my ledger account so I've got full access and ownership of them, because you never know what's around the corner. Now, a lot of these were bought through the likes of KuCoin and Binance, which are relatively, if not one of the mega safe exchanges out there, but anything can happen, guys, honestly. The amount of times I've seen blocks on crypto assets through banks, so you can't withdraw or add money, your tokens are just stuck in there, or you can't retrieve other than changing it to stablecoin and hoping for the best that it will open up again. These things can really take their toll. And as I said, some of those assets I've had to wipe off. You can't even communicate with some of these exchanges, and that's the ignorance at the time to just go, oh, where can I get this token? I'm just going to buy it off here and leave it on there, and not understanding, can I take this token off? Is it a stable market? Is it a stable exchange? Not looking at things like liquidity, confidence in these particular exchanges, and how old the exchanges were. All of these factors are really important, guys, to think about. As I said, even if you're in the top exchange on your trading and your market and your allocations of tokens, it's still massively important to really think about, do I need these tokens on here? Even the staking aspects for exchanges. Some of them have their own official pools through some of the project's protocol staking methods, but still they're not your tokens unless you move them out and you have them on your own private addresses and then stake them. And particularly, you can go and do that in most cases directly with some of these accounts. Again, back to the point of not having too many assets staking or too many assets in general, because the management of that alone is crazy as well. I spent many hours today trying to figure out which ones were still staking, how many rewards have I got, how many do I need to restake, i.e. compounding the interest, taking those rewards and restaking them, because otherwise they just sat there. All of these crazy things, guys, really interesting. And to tail off that conversation about exchanges and stuff is making sure, guys, you keep your logins safe or within your mind specifically, and not have too many exchange logins and things flying about. Some people have safes, this, that, and the other. Some people have great memories, like myself, who can remember certain things, and particularly long feeds and seeds of words. But again, keep an eye on that. Some learnings that I've mentioned on here. Another one that's not mentioned on here is XPR protocol. And that's quite a funny one because I had a fair amount of money on that and I've pretty much lost it all. The funny thing with that one is XPR token, I can see it on my phone. The problem is I changed phones and I didn't have the cloud move the XPR wallet over properly. So by the time I deleted the old phone, everything was across the new phone, but the link of the cloud wasn't on there. So I could still access the wallet of XPR, but I've lost the ability to do it because I didn't have the private key, and I can't get the private key even just by going into my settings or looking at that. So it shows you how secure blockchain can be, but also shows you that the decentralization topic comes with a cost sometimes if you don't manage or remind yourself or keep note of these bits of information. So your private keys, the safety of your wallets, your passwords, everything. You must make sure it's fully encrypted. You must make sure that if you are storing it, you do it properly and in a manageable and efficient way and a secure way, more importantly than anything else. And definitely don't tell anyone your private keys, and don't tell anyone where they are unless you're about to die or something and you need them to access it. Who knows? But that was a really interesting topic, but more around logins. I've had to spend about an hour this morning trying to do 2FA resets, authenticate again, changing my phone. I lost stupidly not transferring across that cloud data all my Google Authenticator logins. So I've had to reset a lot of exchanges who then want me to do stupid symbols with my hands and take several hundred pictures of myself with different IDs and things to try and reset my account. And even some of the images, like this image is not good enough. And you spend weeks and weeks trying to do this, getting frustrated. It's annoying. So just keep an eye on the logins, guys, and anything you do, whether it's changing laptops or this, that, and the other, and make sure you've got backup of things as well in case anything goes wrong. Because trust me, there's many out there that have lost assets into the wilderness of blockchain. You can't always get them back. So that's a really big point there to take note of. A couple of other interesting things of my learnings is not to be emotive and be more efficient with your mindset. So especially when things go into bull and bear markets, it's very easy to jump on the bandwagons and make decisions. In my honest opinion, the last year or two, I've become very good at strategic emotion removal and also being patient. Riding a bit of a storm sometimes can be appropriate. Yes, you might miss those really low points and those really high points, but if you can get some good dollar cost averaging ins and outs within those periods, you're still onto a winner when it comes to profit taking and selling off at the right time. I think that's a really important thing to think about and consider as well with any of the assets that you hold. So that's definitely a key point to think about, is taking a bit of time sometimes. That's not to say take too much time to miss out the opportunities, but it's certainly something where you're messing about with something important, i.e. the hard-earned money that you've made or have made through profit, going to waste with the wrong and quick, inefficient decisions. So definitely think about that for sure. One other mistake that I made over the years is trying to get hold of projects on launch pads and trying to make money off the launch of them when they go on exchange. You have to be very quick with this, especially good with your time management. So definitely don't do it through work hours or if you're busy or distracted or there's noise around you, because you will miss moments. Sometimes with products or project launches going onto exchange with their token exchange listings, they can be done within an hour, within 10 minutes, within 5 minutes, with massive changes in price, volatile prices as well, by the way. For the danger perspective, the risk management needs to be on point with this. But there's been many a time where I've tried to ride a storm, and because people use a lot of bots these days and are well ahead of the game, they've got faster bandwidth for whatever it is, whatever reason, more so than I do, timing wise. I've sat there and some cases lost money, some cases not made money at all, and very extremely rarely made money on launches. So be prepared timing wise for any launches and stuff like that if you are getting involved in things of that orientation. But again, as I said, just be wary and careful and manage that risk. Is it worth it? What kind of play are you trying to get out of this? And in most cases, particularly if you look at most projects across the board in crypto, you'll look back at the traced history of the first entire information going on to the blockchain in the crypto space and the market charts. You'll see a massive spike upwards and then it flops continuously downwards and stays there most of the time until development occurs or new announcements. So that's the other opportunity, is to say, okay, see some potential here in the future, but I'm going to wait until it drops and stabilizes. So there's loads of opportunities in those areas. A few other things, guys, before I wrap this up. A couple of interesting things. Try to avoid being influenced too much or certainly following channels that are specifically shilling projects. It's very easy and apparent to me personally to see when people are doing that. I don't shill any projects. I just talk about the education and knowledge behind them. I'm very transparent in the sense whether I hold them or not. And honestly, I don't care whether you hold them or not, to be honest. And I'm not here being paid by them. to shout about them in any particular way. I just have a very, very interesting knowledge around blockchain cryptography, the projects within them, and certainly the ones I hold. I have a good passion behind them because I understand them and understand what the game potential is, not necessarily from a price perspective, but development and real world utility for sure. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous in my portfolio, but I hold them for speculative reasons or some reasons for a bit of fun. But majority of mine are serious plays that I take seriously when I try to talk about them as well. So just bear that in mind because there's a lot of channels that get paid good money from companies, particularly in bull run markets, to shill their projects and gain more wallet holders and obviously obtain further price awareness, marketing, etc. And trust me, I've seen the rate cards of pretty much all of the influencers out there that take money. Some of them are absolutely extortionate. And it's quite funny to see them talk about a project out of nowhere and then don't talk about it ever again. So please do bear that in mind that this is a good influential game going on in the background for marketing purposes. Money is chucked at this for sure. Don't just jump into your favorite channels and think, oh, wow, they're really interested in this project when they might not be. So really start getting an analysis of what channels are about and influencers are about, and look at the history of them, when they got these tokens, how do they come about these tokens, etc., etc. You can tell it a mile off. It's really good time to get savvy right now in these bear markets, guys, because when that switches around to a bull cycle, trust me, people will come out of the woodwork. You'll see influencers left, right, and center talking about this in crazy ways with crazy thumbnails and stuff like that. And yeah, of course, they hold them and they want them to do well for their own portfolios. Don't get me wrong, I want to make profit on the ones that I hold and do videos on as well, but I will never force upon people to, entice them to get something. I just want them to have a feeling that there's a balanced view here of why this is good, why this is bad, and what are my feelings for the future of it. So please do bear that in mind when you're doing that. And one last key point, guys, very important topic, is this part here, tax, guys. This is a big, big point. So HMRC here in the UK is digitalizing significantly over the last couple of years, and there's a heavy orientation around now for cryptocurrency or capital gains tax, profit taking on these extra gains outside of your usual income. Now, you might be a trader and do it that way, fine, but also you might be someone like myself as well that does personal trading and tries to make money off these assets. Now, at the moment, I'm in negative, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But the point being is there's some great apps out here. I use Coinly. Coinly's great because it takes the API data off your exchanges and gets every single bit of transactional data in your history across. So not only can it give you an emphasis of your entire holding and your profitability and loss mechanism over the last few years, but it can tell you where and when you need to do your tax reports for this, if it's within thresholds. But either way, you still need to report it and show that to your country's tax modules. And there's so many countries now involved in Coinly, which is fantastic. You can pay for a free one, but you just then start paying if you need the reports done, etc., for your self-assessments or your capital gain assessments. I highly recommend it, guys, because blockchain is traceable. Don't think that you could just take money out into fiat and run away with it and you've got a load of free money. There will come a time where they will backtrack this, guys, and you need to make sure that you've done this very well. And if you haven't done it before, you have taken money out before, I would suggest getting involved in these kind of things and backtracking your payments and maybe getting hold of your tax or income tax companies. Like I said, organizations, HMRC here in the UK, IRS in America, there's loads of different names for them in different countries. I highly recommend that. It's very important. Don't have to use Coinly. There's a couple of other ones as well, but Coinly was recommended to me. I can even pull in my information off Ledger and stuff. So everything I do, I can just sync with a button now. Now the wallets are connected and the APIs are connected. I just press the sync button once a month, see where I'm at. But more importantly, near towards those bull markets, very, very important if you're looking to try and exchange your assets into fiat and then taking them out as such in general. So keep an eye on that, guys, please. It's very important that you don't get into trouble. And these regulations are kicking in hard now. And one quick final point, guys. The way I found a lot of my projects was through website called Crypto Slate. Really cool news site and everything, but more importantly for me, I was very interested in the different areas of sectors that tokens might sit in. CoinMarketCap does something similar, but I don't think it's as advanced as this. You can search through chains themselves and the ecosystems within those. You've got sectors, which is important to me. When I first found things like iota and iotx was through here, and artificial intelligence. I was looking at categories and markets that I had knowledge in or experience working in, and maybe just a general passion or interest in as well. I highly recommend it. It's really fascinating to see how many different projects sit in different areas. I mean, I'll just click on AI, for example. You've probably known majority of these companies already out there, but you can also anticipate some that are up and coming, based on their market values, the volumes that are going in and out daily, the market caps, etc., the performances. There's some really interesting points in here for sure. But yeah, it's really fascinating to look through this, guys. And again, sometimes you see repetition, of some projects in most categories, and that's a good alarm bell for me in the sense that okay, cool, this is defining a load of different really key areas of technological advancements over the next few years. So there's even a cannabis one there. Can you believe it? And look at that. The whole market of that is up significantly. That is crazy. I'm going to have a look at this. Wow. That is really interesting. But yeah, guys, could be here forever looking at all these different ones, but I highly recommend that. cryptoslate.com, and you just simply go to the coins and then you can look at all the different sectors on here. I think even on here is energy, which is quite cool. It might not pull in some of them, but you can see Power Ledger Energy Web we cover as well. Grid Plus, fantastic technology. EVZ is quite interesting upcoming as well. There's a couple that aren't listed. I don't know whether that's based on performance or I don't really know, but there's a couple in there. Some you might not see, but you will find some really interesting stuff as you go through here. Again, Solve is another one that I came across through this platform. Very interesting. The list goes on, guys. So hopefully, guys, this has been a really interesting video for you to have listened to or watched. A bit about my portfolio, where my backgrounds come from, things to look out for, things to think about when you're managing and experiencing the crypto space. And I truly believe this is a great time to be analyzing all of these areas within your minds and your portfolios. Because trust me, when these bull markets come, there is no time. And there's no time for structure and thinking. It's already been done. So the best you can plan now in these quiet times, the better. And it also gives you a good representation, whether you're new or an existing person in the crypto space, to analyze what is your portfolio actually about? Where is everything? Do I need to change anything? Do I need to fix things? And that's not to say selling things at negative prices. You might want to remanage, reassess things, or gain access to things that you've forgotten about. It's a great opportunity. So hopefully this has been of interest to you, informative, and hopefully the experience can be passed on to you guys as well out there. And who knows, maybe some of you will sit there and go, I can do a channel. The more the better, in my opinion, as long as you keep it cool and fresh and educational. I think that's the main thing right now. We need more educators out there. That's very much it, guys. Any questions, drop them in the comments. I will probably do a live show from next week now, once a week. So if anything comes up from this video and other videos, do let me know. Drop your comments, any thoughts around the assets that I'm holding or ones that you hold that I think I should hold. Chuck them in there. Very interested indeed to at least research them or do videos on them. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you maybe in the next year to assess where we're at with it all. Bye-bye.